Leah, I'm curious how you chose the music to accompany the dance.
I love that question. Yeah, like the choreography, the music is an integral part of constructing a dance. And so there are three sections. The first is a remix, it's a modern remix of a Slovenian choral piece sung by women called Bog da dobro večer, which translates to "May God grant us a pleasant evening." So it's a little bit of an ironic take on it, considering that Christianity is sort of what came in and abolished this idea of a strong dragon. And it's a very powerful piece of music. And then the middle section is actually done mostly in silence. And then there are voices that come in, recordings of Slavoj Žižek and a woman speaking a Slovenian poem about death and always sort of being by your side and all of that good stuff. And another young man who does work with smaller ethnic groups within Slovenia and talking about how children these days are really proud of their identity. So those are the first two, and then the third song is called Sirens by Samuel Sim. And it harkens back to the first piece because it's also a choral piece sung by women. And the fact that it is sung by women is important to me because my Slovenian heritage was passed down mostly through women, so I wanted to honor that. And also the lyrics of this third piece, I started out by saying, I can hear them talking, but I can see them talking, but I only hear the voices in my head, waiting for the moment they'll be calling to me. And it talks about going home and all of that. So it's a little bit of like a big victory piece.
Thank you so much. We have time for about 2 more questions, I think. We can do a lot more. We have time for a lot more questions. Any questions you have for? Yeah.
Just a quick one. I'm just wondering, what is Zizek saying in that?
Could you repeat that into the microphone for our Zoom audience?
No, you mentioned that Zizek is part of that. What do you have him saying?
Yeah, it's an excerpt from a 1993 debate during the sort of founding of Slovenia as a country. And so he's talking about sort of the national identity. He's talking about ecology and how that's important, and about the economy and how you have to decide these things early on in the process when you're creating a country, so that in the future it has more bombastic implications.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we have one from our Zoom audience.
No,
Oh, it's from Jacqueline.
and it's not well formed as usual, but I'm wondering if maybe, I'm just really, it's being formed as it's coming out of my mouth. Oh, sorry, right. I'm wondering if, Leah can maybe speak to Dance's journaling. And Kate can speak to, I don't know if it goes the other way, but I'm wondering if maybe the pieces can speak to each other in some way. Do you see dance as a form of journaling? I'm not sure if journaling is a form of dance, but it might very well be. Yeah, do you want to go right ahead?
Actually, one of the most popular fields, or one of the most popular topics, I should say, in dance scholarship right now is battling against the idea that dance is purely ephemeral, and there is no archive of dance. Because written word, when you write, when you read, that has its own archive. Art is its own archive. Music has sheet music. Dance, unless you record it, even that is not a true archive of a dance. So the main pushback against that idea is that the body is an archive. So that every time you dance, the repertoire is stored as memory in your body, that your culture is stored in your body politics, how you're treated within your culture. How your memories and your trauma informs how you move in a pedestrian way, and also how you dance. And that if you put two people side by side and watch them dance, you can read their archive. So that your body is a journal for all of your history, whether it's genetic or it's learned or it's, present, formative, all that.
And there is a chat question.
Yeah, you can go ahead and read the chat question.
This is from Elena, who is a previous leader of Harpy. Are dragons in Slovenia associated with femininity in any way? And if so, what does that do? That create a positive or a negative influence or any influence at all?
Slovenia specifically, yes and no. Certainly in Slavic culture, in a lot of Central European and Slavic cultures, there's actually sort of a character difference or a personality difference between male and female dragons, and that female dragons are always more aggressive and are larger and meaner, which I think is really interesting. And also, there are a lot of stories about dragons, coveting, virginal women. And sort of seeing women as something valuable, for better or for worse. Certainly there are definitely negative connotations to that and, the misogyny of that. But also in some ways it gives power to women. I think in a lot of Slavic stories, women fall in love with shape-shifting dragons and all of that. So there is a connection between femininity and dragons and power, and sort of subverting their the expectations.
All right, any more questions? Okay, well, if no, oh, I'm sorry.
Leah.
Oh.
So, I'm wondering for your dancers, is there anything you said to them, help them connect to the dance more? Did you explain like the history of Slovenia and dragons and their importance, help them connect?
Yes, when I first brought them into the first rehearsal, I said this dance is about dragons. And I explained sort of the history, and I dabbled it throughout the rehearsal process to try to keep them engaged and keep giving them information to keep inspiring their own movement. And then I would also, coach them, or sometimes it was funny, the pants, for example, I gave them had like a flap in the back that was all shiny. We talked about, the dragon's tail and also, how you, move or isolate or, these are your claws. So we talked about how dragons move, sort of as I talked about, but also I wanted, to give them the history behind it. And I also encouraged them to consider how in their life they embody the dragon, or how in their past or their history, their ancestry, how reclaiming it might be important to them.